Welcome back, friends. Sorry for that interruption in transmission. If you are joining me, this is a continuation from the earlier live broadcast that I started, and I'm talking about the ECZ requirement that for ballots to be valid, not only do you as a voter mark them with an X correctly in the box or the choice of your candidate, but also that your ballot needs to bear with it behind a valid stamp. Now, before I was cut off by the very unreliable Zambian network, I was emphasizing the point that I'm not in agreement with this thing of having ballots to be stamped behind before they can be declared valid. Why? Because 90% of the Zambian voters are not aware of this provision. And this is due to the poor or lack of voter education or sensitization on the part of the ECZ. So, we are stressing voters. In other words, ECZ is setting booby traps or landmines for you voters. Because on top of you having to mark correctly, voting for people, especially for people that have never voted before, it's a tricky issue. Because people don't know, they're only presented the ballot and they don't know what to do with it. They only have an idea that there's a box. Some people end up ticking. In Zambia, we don't tick in the box. In Uganda, you tick in the box of your candidate of choice. In Zambia, you put an X in the box, a clear X in the candidate of your choice. That's how we vote in Zambia. But the majority of people don't know this. Okay? Because of poor voter education. And I've said there's been next to zero voter sensitization in Zambia. Why? Because the ECZ has restricted campaigns. There have been next to zero campaigns in Zambia. Talk about Lusaka especially. There's been next to zero campaigns. This is an institution that is setting up traps for it to increase the number of spot ballots. Because in case you didn't know, a spot ballot is not only a ballot where a voter makes a mistake in voting. And I've said spot ballots can come up in a number of ways. One, if you do not properly, like I said, if you put a tick in the box of the candidate of choice, in Zambia, that's an invalid ballot or spot ballot. In Uganda, if you put a tick, it is valid because there they tick. And I think it's high time we also started ticking. But anyway, as the law stands, you mark an X in the box of your candidate. Now, you also have to remember to say that some people are voting for the first time. Many youths between 18 and 25 are voting for the first time. Some of them will put X's in two. They'll mark on Haka in the Ichilema. They'll also mark on Harikalaba. That's a spot ballot. But they don't know that. Because they haven't been reached out to, either by ECZ or political parties. And if we say political parties haven't reached out, all the meetings we have, all the mobilization and voter meetings we have, all the meetings we have in contact with voters, we put in a little bit of voter education. But that is not happening because of the lockdown, the political lockdown issued by the ECZ. The political lockdown that has been issued by the ECZ citing COVID has precluded us or prevented us from reaching out to voters as much as we'd like to reach out. Because we know, at the end of the day, voter education is as much a responsibility of political parties as it is for the ECZ. And the ECZ don't even care whether they do voter education. Because this regime under which the ECZ serves is interested in reducing the number of voters. For them, it will serve them very good if there will be a lot of spot ballots. Remember in 2016, the number of spot ballots exceeded the number of what some candidates like Edith Nawaku is scoring. In fact, the second runner-up in the 2016 elections was not Antiford Banda or Edith Z Nawaku. The third runner-up in the 2016 elections was a candidate called Spot Ballots. Spot ballots. And if you put together the number of spot ballots in the 2016 elections, the spot ballot, if it was a candidate, that candidate would have come out number 3. That's the emphasis that I'm putting on the ballot. So I'm saying, for those of you who don't know or have not heard, share this. What I'm saying, what I'm telling you, what the ECZ rules currently are, is that your ballot box must carry a stamp for ECZ behind there, not in front, behind where you can't see it. It must carry a stamp of the ECZ. Kufuire kwa benshimbi yaba ECZ kuluma ya ballot box kwenu. Kumbuyo kwa ballot box yanu, kufika kwa nkala nsimbi yaba ECZ. Kwa mulaho ya ballot box ya mina, kutokuala kuba stamp yaba ECZ. Aiba kuna stamp yaba ECZ. Yeo kisport ballot, it won't be counted. Many people don't know that. And I'm saying I'm against this thing. Because one of the rules of the ECZ is that on your ballot, there must be no other marking. Get me right and hear me right. The enduring rule, the golden rule of the ECZ for a ballot to be valid is that you must mark only one mark in your ballot, on the paper of your ballot rather. You must mark only on one candidate with an X within the box. If a line goes out and reaches into another candidate's box, that is a spot ballot. Okay? If you write your name on the ballot box, that is a spot ballot. If you write your NRC on the ballot box, on the ballot paper, that is a spot ballot. If you fatika your thumbprint anywhere on the ballot paper, that is a spot ballot. And in addition, the thing that I'm talking about now, in addition to all those means by which your ballot can be spot, if there is no ECZ stamp behind your ballot, that is also a spot ballot. And I'm saying we must not lose votes, or we must not stress voters to start checking behind their ballots because some ECZ official has not done his job or has deliberately sabotaged the process by not putting a stamp behind the ballots of the UPND. That is very possible. Do you think we trust these ECZ guys? You think we trust them? We are not naive. We don't trust these guys. Some of these guys are in the pocket of the ECZ. We don't trust them all. That's why we need our observers to be there to ensure that the right thing is being done. Now, look, if this new provision yakuti kufunika kwa nkala nsimbi ya ECZ kumboya ballot, vambiri 90%, I guarantee you that 90% of the voters won't be checking behind the ballot paper to check that kuli nsimbi kuja. They won't be checking. They won't be checking. So, what is going to happen? ECZ is the most incompetent institution of elections I've ever seen anywhere in the world. Even the commission, the Electoral Commission of Uganda is much better than ECZ. ECZ mzamvela pa day of vote. If this rule yakuti kufunika kwa nkala nsimbi kungoya ballot yako for it to be valid, mzamvela to know kulibe stamp in the polling station. Mzamvela, they are my elections. Mzamvela kulibe stamp. Simana tipase stamp. Then people start waiting for stamps. Remember, in 2016, the most serious issue that we had is that there were no Gen 12s. Gen 12 is simply the standard form of the ECZ where you declare the results at a particular polling station. The official document or paper on which all the results of the candidates are recorded on the polling station is called Gen 12. Now it's called Gen 20. Then it was called Gen 12. The results declaration form. In 2016, the results declaration forms, or the Gen 20 or the Gen 12 as it was called then, it was not there in the majority of polling stations. It was not there. Such an important thing. They opened a polling station without the Gen 12. If they can open a polling station without the results declaration form, where they're supposed to record the results after counting is done, if they can open without that Gen 12, you think they won't be missing stamps? Is that missing our stamp? Bazaka maruro areas. Ati swana tutumire ma stamp. Tiembeke za tume ma stamp kutoka kurusaka. Tikazi fuatika kungoya ma ballots for them to be valid. And the whole day will pass like that. Ingati siso kuzankala inki ya stamp ya sira. Vimachtika hivi. I'm sure even during the when you were getting your voters card, you experienced this. No, munani, what do you call them? Magenset. Dizio yasira. Polling station shuts down because there's no power. No, inki yasira. Ile vinachtikira when I was getting my voters card, pakamwala. At inki muprinta yasira. Inki yasira muprinta. We had to wait for them to go and get ink from ECZ. And this is Lusaka, the capital. Kwinangu ati no, cable yo connector ku genset na ku machines, kulit ma toolkits. At cable, balibe cable. Some registration centers, they spend the whole day at kulibe cable. In short, what I'm saying is that there are all sorts of logistical hiccups which can happen. If we are going to go with this thing of saying, kumbwe ballot for it to be valid kufika kwa ngala stamp. Benangu deliberately, bazaba pasa ma stamp, but no pasa ink ya stamp. Benangu bazaba pasa ma stamp na ink bazaba pasa. What do you do about that? What do you do about that? Because if you are in opposition, like me, you must be very open-minded and you must be very sharp and very critical. You must have an eye on any small thing that can give an advantage to your enemy. Because we know to say that the PF have lost this election. The only way they have is to rig. Then you have these provisions of poverty. Kumbuya ballot fika kwa nkala stamp. Ni bangati ndimo bangati baziba kuti kumbuya ballot fika kwa nkala stamp. Bambili mzatenga chema ballot semeni bazamipasa. Mwapafaka na X, mwapafaka na mubox, mwachokapo na chokapo. Pompenda manje nza kwa kuzankala manje njito. No, I am a ballot aya, yalibe ma stamp, so ni ma invalid. Because that's what the law says. Now, imagine a situation. I'm giving you an example. Imagine where the person who's issuing my ballots is PF. You have two sets of heaps of ballots. Uku yalina ma stamp, apa saba PF. Uku yalibe ma stamp, apa saba UPNG. You get where I'm going? This requirement of having a stamp behind the ballot, that is what we are talking about if you have just joined me. And it's a requirement for a ballot to be valid. So I'm saying, if that goes, or it's allowed to happen, and it's going to happen, there's nothing we can do about it. You just have to be aware to check your ballot behind if it has got a stamp. So there can be a situation whereby my heap, this polling officer or polling agent of ECZ has got one heap on the side of ballots which are already stamped, apasa by PF, or where yamena see stamped, apasa by UPNG. At the end of the day, you find that yours are ballots where people have voted for UPNG. Yalibe stamp kumbuyo, and the ECZ to say, I am invalid. See how votes are lost. Just like that. Then ukuliba PF ukuyonsa yalima stamp. I put it to you, and I'm putting it to the ECZ, that this is a potential landmine. It's a potential landmine for massive rigging. If the whole idea of stamping ballots behind was to ensure to say that there's no rigging, it's a useless measure. Because rigging takes place at various levels. It doesn't only take place at the polling station when you put ballots there. Rigging can even take place electronically. Electronic rigging. That's what happened in 2016. Kumulungush koja. Pamene wanapeza chavula nishari mulani mu IT room. Mwenze ma ballot boxes mu IT room. Mwenze ma ballot boxes mu IT room. There were no ballot boxes in the IT room. Mulitabe ma computers, the electronic. Voting can take place electronic. So the whole obsession that the protection of the vote starts and ends at the polling station is false. The whole notion that protection of the vote ends with a stamp being put on a ballot to declare it valid. If you think that the whole vote protection process starts and ends at your ballot being stamped at the back with a verified stamp, it doesn't, because there is electronic voting can take place kuma servers yaba ECZ. Somebody just punch in figures, transpose figures here and there. By the National Totaling Center, they get the wrong figure. They announce wrong figures. That's what they did in 2016. So I'm saying that this measure which ECZ is insisting on and has put in, yakuti, for a ballot to be valid, it's going to advantage no other people than us who are fighting to remove PF from government. It's going to disadvantage us. Because some of our people do not know. Sibaziba, tabeshibe, abazibi. Kuti yeo kona requirement, yakuri kwa ballot kwa mla hao kuswanela kuwa stamp ya ECZ. So you are listening to me. Help us. Help yourselves and help us. Disseminate this information. Tell your friends who are voters, your community, your church, your school, your neighbors. Alert them to say that it's not just enough for them to get for those ballots and put the X or where they on their preferred candidate. No. They must check behind and see to it that Kulinsimbi, Yaba ECZ. That's what ECZ wants. And I've told you, ECZ cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted. Because this is an institution that has been crying to say they have been underfunded by the government, by the PF. They said they couldn't sponsor observers of ballots to go to Dubai and observe. They said they couldn't sponsor observers from the opposition and other parties because they are underfunded. Now, do you think if these people are underfunded, but that sponsor my voter educators, my voter, what do you call them? Voter education officers. You think they're going to sponsor voter education officers to pass through the entire Zambia, where there are 7 point something million voters? You think ECZ is going to take up that task? In the advent of COVID, where they have banned gatherings, they have banned rallies, they have banned road shows, they have even banned the UPNG and the AKA in the Chilema from flying. They have denied them a flying permit. You think they are going to allow anybody to start holding meetings, sensitizing voters on how to vote? They will say that is campaigning. That's how they're campaigning us. The ECZ officers who are doing voter education, they are hopeless. Some of you haven't even seen any voter education officer. Have you? Leave a comment there if you have seen a voter education officer, please. If you have seen any voter education officer coming to your door, telling you the voting process, how you enter what to do when you are in the polling station, what you are supposed to be given, and how you are supposed to vote, and what constitutes a valid vote, and what constitutes a sport ballot. If they have come there to educate you, put a comment there. I bet that you haven't seen anybody. Me, I only saw one by chance. In my ward in Kamala where I'm standing, I only saw one by chance. One educator. One educator, voter educator. That they are underfunded. Now, do you expect one voter educator in the space of 30 days to reach out to 21,000 voters like in my ward? Just my ward. Otherwise, in Lusaka, I've got 33,000 voters. And ECZ sends one voter educator to go and educate people on how to vote. To go and educate people to say that for a ballot to be valid, you think they are going to manage? We must be aware of these things. And we must be critical. We must not take just everything that the ECZ throws at us. My conditions, my guidelines, my requirements, some of them which are landmines, they are booby traps. They are throwing them at us. Some of those things must be rejected. But I'm afraid that the point where we are, it is too late for that. That is why you have to share this information with the nearest person to you. Your community, your neighbors, your church, your school, any social organization that you belong to. Announce, the next time you be gathering, announce to them to say that Poenda mukuvota, please ensure to say you're given 4 ballots and all the ballots must bear a stamp of the ECZ behind. Because if there is no stamp, you do the correct thing, you mark an X in the box of your preferred candidate. And then there is no stamp. That is a sport ballot. That's how they steal votes. At the polling station level, they can steal just like that. But I've told you to say that stealing of votes or rigging is beyond the ballot. It even happens electronically. Electronically, those are issues we'll talk about next time. Because that is it's a whole different topic on itself. In fact, when I met the voter educator in my ward, I gave them a guided tour because they didn't know where to go. They were looking lost. They were just given a bag and my flyers. Na chimap at Ingenani Mufield with the educate one. They were lost, so I gave them a guided tour. I got 2 flyers. One flyer is about the voting process. The next flyer was about the vote transmission process. 2 processes. Voting process for you and me as a voter. We should know what to do in the polling station and what to carry. 2, voter transmission for observers. After you have voted, how is the counting done? And how is the transmission of results done? Who announces? What are they written on? That's a whole different process. But today, I'm going to end just on this. And to sum up this broadcast, what it's been about. It's been about my concern on the requirement by ECZ that for a ballot to be valid, it must not only carry your mark of X in the box for your preferred candidate, but in addition, it must bear an ECZ stamp at the back. That simply means you, my dear voter, my dear Zambian, have been given an extra headache by ECZ to not only ensure to say that you mark in that box correctly, but to also check and verify. You've been employed by ECZ unknowingly as a verifier. You must verify to say that the ECZ official has put a stamp behind your ballot. It is your duty to verify, not that of the ECZ. That's what they are saying. So if it isn't there, if you are given a ballot box which is not there, which doesn't have a stamp, please return it back to the polling station office and tell them, can you give me a ballot which has got a stamp? Because if you don't, the incompetence or the deliberate sabotage or rigging of PF cadres in ECZ uniforms is going to cost us votes. And God forbid, it should not cost us election, because we can't survive another 5 years of the PF for reasons that you very well know. If you don't have any reason to vote for the UPND, vote for this reason that I'm going to give you. Yesterday, 5 women in the Mrs. compound in Lusaka were raped by PF thugs. Raped and robbed because they refused to support the PF. That's if you don't have any other reason, that's the reason. Because very soon they'll be breaking into your homes and raping your wives, raping your sisters, raping your girlfriends, raping our mothers. It's possible. It's not a joke. I also used to think it's a joke that these things that rape can be used as a tool of terror. It was all about pangas, but now even rape has come in the picture. So let's remove this regime, which is taking us down a path where you and me don't want to go. This video is going to be uploaded on my YouTube channel as well. So if you're on YouTube, go to YouTube and type Mainda Simataa and subscribe. Click subscribe and the bell, and you get updates on election update and many more other issues which are contentious to our country, which are of concern to you and me. Thank you very much, and God bless.